I'm Jacob Courtwright, and this is The Locker Room. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into The Locker Room. I am back home in Nashville, Tennessee. Sadly, I am no longer at the beach, but it was a much-needed rest, so I'm glad I got away for a week. But I am happy to be back with you, happy to be back in Nashville. It is football week, so we've got a big football show coming up. But before we can even get started, you got to follow The Locker Room on our social media, TLR Podcast 615. That gives you access to all things Locker Room. That is TLR Podcast 615. This episode is brought to you by FNX Fitness. Go to fnxfit.com. That is fnxfit.com for all of your gym and health needs. If there's one thing I learned from being at the beach this week, it's that I need to do a little work on myself, is probably the best way to put that. Listen, you can't eat Taco Bell every day and not expect to get a fat ass. Okay? I'm just being honest, and I'm definitely eat the Taco Bell every single day kind of guy. But FNX Fitness has turned my life around, and it can turn yours around. Use your promo code TLRHOST. That is TLRHOST for 15% off your first order. Trust me, you want to get it done today. Thursday starts the NFL. Thursday starts the NFL. The NFL. The NFL is back. Do you guys like that? I practiced it just now. Football's back. I mean, I know college football's back, and college football pick'em show is going to be back on Saturdays. What's up, everybody? And we're doing Oregon, Ohio State as the big game of the day. So you best believe that college football pick'ems had to come back for the biggest game of the year, Oregon versus Ohio State. But college football aside, we're going to talk about college football here in a second too, but college football aside, the NFL is here. Thursday, we get the Cowboys versus the Bucks. The NFL comes swinging out the gate this year. They're going to give us a Cowboy loss on a Thursday night to a 49,000-year-old Tom Brady. I'm all in. We get to watch the Cowboys get embarrassed opening night of football. Dak Prescott hobble his way onto the field. I'm sure he'll have some injury by the end of the game, because if it's not a shoulder, it's an ankle, it's a whatever. And of course, we never want to see any players get hurt. I would never condone that. I just hate the Cowboys, and so does 90% of America. The thing about the Cowboys, they're probably the most hated / loved team in all of sports. It used to be the Yankees. The Yankees used to be that team where you either loved the Yankees or you hated the Yankees. Now, today, I feel like the Yankees have lost a lot of that luster. They've lost a lot of their haters. They've lost a lot of their diehard psychos. It just seems kind of like they've mellowed out. And the Dallas Cowboys slid right in there and took their place as the most hated or the most loved team in all of sports. The most polarizing team. I am on the other side of I hate the Dallas Cowboys, and I think the reason I hate the Dallas Cowboys is because they have Alabama energy, right? But without Alabama skill. Alabama frustrates the hell out of me just because they just reload with 5 stars. They're just always so deep at running back, quarterback, wide receiver, defensive line, linebackers. Alabama just reloads every year. They're dominant every year. So I'm just tired of seeing Alabama win. And the Dallas Cowboys have that same energy. They act like they act like they reload every year. They act like they're studs. They act like they've got quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs. They act like they've got a defense that is top 5. And it's like, dude, you can't even win your division. I mean, Dak Prescott's won what? Has he been to one playoff game or won one playoff game? I can't even remember since he took over the starting job. And for some reason, you Cowboys fans, you diehards, and I'm in a fantasy league with a couple of you, you're still going to tell me every single year, this is our year. And the crazy part is I'm around delusional fans. If any of you have ever met my brother or you've seen him on the college football pick'ems, I mean, this kid, when he talks about the TCU Horned Frogs or the Chicago Bears, He's going to tell you every single year, no matter what, that they're going to win the Super Bowl. And he truly believes that. But I don't know what it is about you Cowboys fans. You Cowboys fans think that not only are you going to win, but you're going to dominate. You're the best team that's ever existed. You're going down in history. Dak Prescott's a top 3 quarterback. Ezekiel Elliott's a top 3 running back. Amari Cooper is the best wide receiver in the league. Like, your psychoticness is just off the charts. So I'm happy that the NFL finally gave us an opening day game where we get a 1,000-year-old Tom Brady who can whip up on the Dallas Cowboys. It's going to have massive ratings, so great way to start out the year. But we've got to talk about my top 5 Super Bowl contenders, because that's what this is all about. And I've done it a couple times already earlier in the season, but now we are to my official. This is the week of football. It's not going to change. Many of you know we're going to update this list, but my list does not change throughout the year. These are my top 5 teams I think have the potential to either win the Super Bowl or get to the Super Bowl. So here we go. Starting at number 5. I like the Los Angeles Rams at this spot. Here's the deal. Matthew Stafford is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL, especially from an arm talent standpoint. But when you play in Detroit, no one pays 2 bits of attention to you. Let's put it this way. When you are in the city of Detroit, no one cares that you exist because Detroit sucks. And if you're from Detroit, and I actually have a boy listening right now that's from Detroit, I'm sorry. And go anywhere in the entire United States besides Detroit. Hell, California is better option than Detroit, and California sucks. With all their regulations and craziness, I would go anywhere besides Detroit. But that's besides the point. But when you play in Detroit, no one's paying attention. When you have 30 fans at your game, no one's paying attention. Matthew Stafford is finally in a big market team. He's finally with a big market head coach. He's finally with a big market number 1 defense in the NFL. Matthew Stafford has every tool and every opportunity to get to a Super Bowl. It's mind-blowing to me that when you talk to these guys in the NFL, when you talk to these studs, when you talk to Aaron Rodgers, when you talk to Tom Brady, when you talk to Russell Wilson, when you talk to some of these big-name quarterbacks, they all say that Matthew Stafford is one of the most underrated, if not the most underrated quarterbacks in all of the NFL. Like, dude's crazy talented, and he's had a horrible team around him. So him just going to Los Angeles in the first place instantly made them favorites for the Super Bowl. Just because he was there. Let alone, they have the best defense in the NFL. And I could go through. They're very talented across the board, but all I have to say is 2 names. Aaron Donald, best defender in football. Jalen Ramsey, the best cornerback in football. It's pretty close with Stephon Gilmore, but it's not close with Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald is the best defensive player in all of football. Aaron Donald is on his way to being a top 5 defensive player of all time, and we can argue that till the day is long, but, this dude is just stupid. Stupid insane. So when you have those 2 names on the defensive side of the football, and then you add a Matthew Stafford to the offensive side of the football, you're going to be a Super Bowl contender. I like Sean McVay a lot more than people do. People got on the Sean McVay train when he had Jared Goff and was taking teams to the Super Bowl early on. And then they hopped off the train when he wasn't winning as much with Jared Goff. And I think the biggest problem was Jared Goff could not run his system. I think Jared Goff wasn't accurate enough to run Sean McVay's system, more importantly. He just wasn't accurate enough, and he's getting a guy in Matthew Stafford that is very, very accurate and has the arm strength to launch a ball halfway down the field. So Sean McVay's a happy, happy man, and if you jumped off the Sean McVay train, now's about time to get back on it, because they are serious contenders, folks. I'm not joking. Robert Woods, first off, if you play fantasy football at all and you had the opportunity to take Robert Woods and you didn't, you're out of your mind, because he finishes 1 or 2 every single year in fantasy points. Dude just gets touches on the rock. Whether it's jet sweeps, whether it's wide receiver passes, whatever it is, dude's touching the ball 60% to 70% of every single game. Robert Woods is a massive fantasy guy. But fantasy football aside, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, they now have Sony Michel, D. Henderson Jr. This is a team, they've got a decent offensive line. Like, this is a team that is going to be very underrated coming into the season, and I think it's going to start surprising people about midway through. You get to week 5 or 6, I think you're going to be shocked with what the Rams can do. They are my 5th best team to win the Super Bowl. At number 4, I'm going to go with Green Bay. Now, do I hate Green Bay? Absolutely. Of course I hate Green Bay. I'm a Bear fan through and through, born and raised in Chicago. But at the end of the day, when you have Aaron Rodgers on your team, you're going to have an opportunity. If there's two guys, no, I take that back. If there's three guys in the NFL that if you put them on any team in the NFL could make them a contender, number one, you got Tom Brady. Number two, you got Aaron Rodgers. Number three, you got Patrick Mahomes. In no particular order. I mean, I'm just saying those three guys. But I mean, when you have Aaron Rodgers returning to a team with Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones, you're going to have opportunities to win Super Bowls. I mean, you're winning your division just about every single year. You're dominating the NFC. I mean, so at the end of the day, they've got a lot easier path. I think the AFC is a whole lot more stacked than the NFC. So you've got an easier path to the Super Bowl. You basically have to go through, Tom Brady? So, of course, you're going to have an opportunity. The biggest question with the Green Bay Packers isn't, are they talented enough? The biggest question with the Green Bay Packers is, are Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers staff on the same page? We saw this when they made their deep run not too long ago. I think it was 3 seasons ago. COVID's thrown me all off from my timelines here. But we saw this a couple years ago when he's having full-out screaming matches with Matt LaFleur. You can't have that on the sidelines. You can't have that kind of, and everybody's like, oh, well, we're butting heads a little bit. But no, it doesn't work that way. Look at the best teams in the entire world. Their star quarterbacks aren't screaming and cussing out their head coaches because they're stupid, according to the quarterback. And yeah, I mean, Aaron Rodgers was legit calling his head coach stupid. So what kind of relationship are they going to have? They say it's fine. They say that Aaron Rodgers in the front office have worked everything out. They say it's in a positive direction, but at the end of the day, we don't know. And I have seen too many times in sports, bad relationships can affect the entire team. The second it affects the entire team, you have a sinking ship. You have a Titanic, which as a Bears fan, I pray to the Lord that this Titanic starts sinking earlier rather than later, because I'd rather not see the Green Bay Packers win the division again, especially if the Bears are going to start their dumbass Andy Dalton. God, I can't even, stupid. But, I mean, at the end of the day, they're contenders no matter what. If that relationship is fractured, that might be the difference between them getting to the Super Bowl and them losing, in the NFC Championship game. But at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers equals opportunity to win a Super Bowl. At number 3, the Buffalo Bills. Listen, Bills Mafia is strong inside me, okay? I mean, not that I really care about the Bills or even knew that they really existed until Josh Allen got there and made them relevant again. But, I mean, I'm all in on the Bills. Their defense is going to be fighting for that number 1 to number 2 spot the entire year. I truly, truly believe that. They didn't lose anybody of giant significance. They just beefed up their defensive end position, which we all know is probably the most important position in all of football when it comes to the defensive side of the football. Just adding guys like Russo and all these other big-name guys, the Bills are insane. And the funny part is the Bills are getting kind of pushed to the side, kind of ignored by a lot of NFL experts. First off, I don't consider Stephen A. Smith an NFL expert if he ever has the New England Patriots at his 4th best team to win the Super Bowl. So you lost all respect from me there, Stephen A. But most of these big name NFL scouts, not necessarily scouts, but all these big name NFL analysts, I should say, these guys I've been watching over the last few days, a lot of these guys are saying that the Bills are 4th to 5th, some even 6th or 7th best team or best chance to have Super Bowl odds. Listen, I know they would have to go through Kansas City to make a Super Bowl. That's not what I'm arguing about. I'm seriously shocked that not as many people are all hyped up on the Buffalo Bills train. Josh Allen has just gotten better and better and better and better. We've not seen a decline. We've seen a growth every single year. We know he has one of the strongest arms in football, but he's becoming more accurate. Their defense has just been loading up and loading up and loading up. And guess what? In the draft, their draft has been, over the last, I would say, 3-4 years, the Buffalo Bills have done an excellent job drafting and actually have scored, I think, A's across the board for me whenever I grade the draft. The biggest problem the Bills have had over the last couple of seasons is running the football consistently. The most consistent year that they had running the football was with a 2,000-year-old Frank Gore, right? They have to have some sort of consistency from Zach Moss and Singletary and these guys. You just can't, and I understand why they want to do this. When you have a guy like Josh Allen, when you have guys like Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, you want to toss the ball 40 to 50 times a game. But it never ceases to make it complicated come playoff time and, of course, come the Super Bowl. What do good teams have in common in the Super Bowl? Yes, they have good defenses, but they have balance on offense. If you can't run the ball consistently enough to keep the defense honest, then guess what? The exact same thing is going to happen what happened to Patrick Mahomes last year in the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, his line was terrible, but they could never gain any kind of run. They could never get any kind of traction. So guess what? All the Buccaneers did is sat back in nickel defense, and then that's it. They let their front line feed. They sat back in nickel defense, and Patrick Mahomes had nowhere to go with the football. He's being pressured on the edges, and then when he looks out, he's staring at a nickel defense, which is just covered across the board. And what did Tom Brady and the Bucs offense do so well? They found balance. Leonard Fournette's name was not really mentioned when he went down to Tampa. Like, they're like, oh, that's a decent piece. He'll help. Leonard Fournette should have been up there for Super Bowl MVP. Like, let's be honest. Tom Brady was great, but Leonard Fournette was a monster. They found balance. Rob Gronkowski, Leonard Fournette. Rob Gronkowski, Leonard Fournette. Couple tosses to Antonio Brown. Couple tosses to Chris Godwin. You have Mike Evans taking up doubles on the ends. At the end of the day, it's balance that will win a football game in the biggest moments. There are very few moments in history that I can think of where an offense dominated from start to finish doing one thing and doing one thing well. You have to have some sort of balance. Why do you think the Kansas City Chiefs went and got Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the draft? Why do you think the Kansas City Chiefs realized they need to beef up their running game? Because they understand that Patrick Mahomes, as great as he is, cannot throw against a defense when everybody's just sitting back there waiting for him to throw the football. They've got to find balance. Can these Buffalo Bills find balance this year? That is the biggest question. I'm not going to do my Super Bowl predictions until after week 1. I want to see everybody just one time, and then I will give you next Tuesday. You'll have my official who I think is going to win the Super Bowl on next Tuesday's episode. But I'm intrigued about the Buffalo Bills, and I might surprise some people come next Tuesday with my pick. The second team most likely to win the Super Bowl, the Kansas City Chiefs. Many of you are like, hey, they're way more talented than the Tampa Bay Bucks. I don't understand why you're not putting a younger Patrick Mahomes above him. My golden rule, I will never replace the Super Bowl champion until that Super Bowl champion has lost. That's my rule with any championship. If you win the championship, you should then be favored to win the championship. Drives me up a wall when they're like, oh, well, Patrick Mahomes should be number 1. Why? He didn't win it. The Bucs dominated. They're returning all of their starters. First time since 1983. So they're doing things that have not been done in years and years and years. They dominated last year come playoff time and in the Super Bowl. And then they're supposed to be behind the team that they beat? No. At number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs. What I like about the Kansas City Chiefs? Oh, I don't know. Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce's on trajectory to be the greatest tight end of all time. I mean, I don't want to say it, but I've got to say it. Like, I love Rob Gronkowski to death. He's a monster. But Travis Kelce, with his track that he's on right now, is on track to be the greatest tight end of all time. He's already up there in that conversation of top 7 of all time. I mean, there's several guys, the Shannon Sharps of the world, Rob Gronkowski's, Antonio Gonzalez. Like, there's guys up there for sure that are way above him, and he still needs to do a lot to even get near them. But Travis Kelce, if he just continues his production every single year, gets a couple more rings, well, next thing you know, Travis Kelce might be the greatest tight end of all time. When you have that, and arguably a top 5 quarterback of all time in Patrick Mahomes at the end of his career, not calling him that yet, but at the end of his career, probably going to go down as a top 5 quarterback, first ballot Hall of Famer, like, that's a recipe for success. And the Kansas City Chiefs have a decent defense. Clark is their biggest hit. Many of you don't know Clark has had some legal troubles. I think it's possession of a gun or something like that. I don't pay too much attention to it. But if Frank Clark can't play, they're going to be hurting for sure. But you've got the Honey Badger, who, while he's not the most talented in the NFL, it just brings a certain type of energy, a certain type of spark to that defense. So their defense is still going to be a top 15 defense. They have a probably top 2 or 3 offense. Not probably. They do have a top 2 or 3 offense. It's very hard for me to not put the Tennessee Titans up there. So you've got an insane offense. You've got a good head coach in Andy Reid. You've got Patrick Mahomes. I mean, that's basically all I should have said, which is you have Patrick Mahomes, you have an opportunity to win a Super Bowl. And lastly, I've already talked about them, the number one team, the number one contender, the reigning defending champions, the Tampa Bay Bucks. Tampa Bay Bucks. Like I said, I don't understand why anybody would have them lower than 1. They won the Super Bowl. They brought back everybody. Therefore, the Bucks are the number one contender. Are we going to see, and this is the biggest question mark that we've been asking for the last 7 seasons, it seems like, with Tom Brady, will there be a decline? Will there be a drop-off? Will we not see Tom Brady be Tom Brady come the time that he needs to be Tom Brady? That probably sounded super confusing, but it actually made sense if you listen back to it. Are we going to see a Tom Brady that can continue to command the offense? Are we going to see a Tom Brady that can continue to throw the ball 35, 36 times a game? Are we going to, if I could speak today, are we going to see a Tom Brady that can lead the Bucs to another Super Bowl? That's always been the big question mark. We know Tom Brady's the greatest of all time. We know Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are loaded on defense. We know that Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are stupid loaded on offense. Is there going to be a drop-off? Tom Brady's already saying that he's apparently had a knee that's been bothering him for a long while. He's no longer even wearing the knee sleeve. He said it's fixed. It feels great. He feels better than ever. He feels like he can throw like he did when he was 24. So either Tom Brady's a robot, or we have to take Tom Brady at his word and just agree that Tom Brady's not only the greatest of all time, but he's just not seeming to age that much right now. And I really don't expect that big of a drop-off from last season to this season. The second Tom Brady has a couple bad games, or he forgets that it's 4th down, or he does something, the world overreacts. The sports media world overreacts. And I've talked about this on my Take 5s before, how I hate sports media because all they do is overreact to every little thing, especially when it comes to great players like LeBron, Tom Brady, and so on and so forth. Sports media overreacts. Father Time's finally caught up to him. Next thing you know, you have LeBron James winning a championship 2 years ago. You have Tom Brady winning a championship last year. So until Father Time literally hits them with the bus of time, and we see Tom Brady go out there and complete 7 passes and can't get the ball past 15 yards, you got to bet on Tom Brady. You've got to bet on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, I do have 3 honorable mentions that could make the Super Bowl. And in no particular order, the San Francisco 49ers, the Tennessee Titans, the Baltimore Ravens. Each team has its limitations. The San Francisco 49ers, their limitations is Jimmy Garoppolo, and can a young Trey Lance come in, not only take over the starting job, but propel that team even further forward because they are ready to win now. They've got a great defense. Trey Lance has got an incredible arm, but is he ready for that moment? With the Tennessee Titans is, can their defense stop anybody on 3rd down? Can their cornerbacks play decent football? Not great football, not even necessarily good football, but decent football, adequate football that can keep teams from having to pass 700 yards on them every single game. And then lastly, the Baltimore Ravens, can they do anything else besides run the football effectively? Can Lamar Jackson become an accurate passer of the football? Can Lamar Jackson shake up this offense with his new weapons in Sammy Watkins, Antonio Brown, not Antonio Brown, Hollywood Brown, Rashad Bateman, which I know he's hurt, but he'll be back in the season. Can he do something different besides just toss to Mike Andrews? And can he do something different than run the football? That has been the Ravens' biggest questions because they are also built to win now. But those are my 3 honorable mentions, and those are my Super Bowl picks. So clearly not everybody can be in Super Bowl contention, but are there any teams that are wildcard potential? Are there any teams that might have missed the playoffs last year or got bounced early in the wildcard rounds that I think could make a playoff run this year? And by playoff run, I mean maybe win a game. Yeah, I've got a couple of them here for you. So let's start at, no particular order. Let's just talk about the 5 teams. The Chicago Bears. And the only reason I say the Bears are in some sort of playoff contention or wildcard potential is the fact that I don't believe that Andy Dalton will be the starting quarterback past the 3rd game. He can't be, right? The Red Rocket needs to... there's not really a nice way to say what I want to say. So I'll skip past that. Let's put it this way. Chicago has a type, and it's crappy white quarterbacks. If we can be we can be honest here. Chicago has a type of crappy white quarterbacks that just fall short, and Andy Dalton falls in that category. We went from Rex Grossman to Jay Cutler to now, for some reason, Mitchell Trubisky to then Andy Dalton. I'm sorry, we threw Nick Foles and we sprinkled Nick Foles in there as well. The Bears just have a track record of, it's like the Bears have a thing for blondes with blue eyes, and then the blondes with blue eyes turn out to be psycho every single time, and they're just like, well, I should probably try out this blonde with blue eyes over here, see if she's any different. It's not any different. It's not. You're putting the same potato back there every single year. Every single year. This is a potato with red hair. Mitchell Trubisky was a potato with black hair. You had Nick Foles, who was just a potato. I don't even know how to describe him. You had Jay Cutler, who was a depressed potato, and who was always mad. You had Rex Grossman, who was a hopeful potato. He thought he was the best ever in Chicago. Like, the Bears just do this thing every single year where we just put someone at quarterback that... trying to keep my brain from exploding. Justin Fields is the answer. I'm not saying Justin Fields is going to be a top 5 quarterback. I'm not even saying that Justin Fields is going to be anywhere near Deshaun Watson caliber. What I am saying, let's put some flavor in at quarterback. Let's put somebody that can scramble. Let's put somebody that we can run an RPO. Let's put somebody that can throw a little zip on the ball. Let's put somebody that can move in the pocket, that can step in and out of pressure, that can scramble if we need them to. Let's put somebody back there like that. So if that happens, if we finally get ourselves together, we finally use what little brain we have had in the last several years, and we put in Justin Fields, then the Chicago Bears are a playoff contention team. I'm not saying that they are going to dominate, but what I am saying is with a top 5 defense in the NFL, with a quarterback who can make plays and run Matt Nagy's system to a T, because Matt Nagy runs a system which is a West Coast spread system but has a lot of RPOs in it, then that means you have to start Justin Fields. Because everything will work together for good. The good Lord said it himself. Everything works together for good. This is everything working together for good. The Bears have an opportunity to make the playoffs and not at the arm of Andy Dalton. I just don't know if you guys know this or not, but I feel very passionate about the quarterbacks in Chicago. All right. But the Bears are a team that I think could make the playoffs and could do some damage in the playoffs if Justin Fields is at the helm. Next up, I would probably go, honestly, the Indianapolis Colts. I think the Tennessee Titans are going to win that division. I just like what they have. The Tennessee Titans have probably the second or first best offense in the NFL, and that's not just because I like the Titans. It's the fact that when you have Derrick Henry, probably the best running back in the NFL, or neck and neck with Christian McCaffrey, when you have Julio Jones, which we don't know what he's going to be, but even if Julio's at 70%, when you have A.J. Brown, who's just continued to grow and, arguably he's made my top 10 list for wide receivers this year, they're going to be insane. So the Titans are going to win that division, but the Indianapolis Colts are no joke. The big question mark has always been Carson Wentz, and he's been out with a foot. He had surgery, but he's been practicing. They say he's likely to play week 1. We don't know what's going on with Carson. Carson's a crap show. All right? But the Colts have weapons. Michael Pittman. Now, T.Y. Hilton is out for the first, I think, 5 or 6 weeks with a neck injury, but Michael Pittman is no joke. And then you've got the three-headed monster in the backfield. When you have Jonathan Taylor, you have Naheem Hines, you have Marlon Mack. I'm pretty sure Marlon Mack's back and healthy. Like, when you have a backfield that is that deep and that strong at the running back position, you're going to be in contention. Can Carson Wentz stay healthy? I do believe he ends up coming back healthy, and I do believe he ends up having a very strong season. And we see Carson Wentz go back to what he was when he was in MVP discussion, which is a very good top 10, top 15 quarterback in the NFL. The Colts are another sleeper to make a deep playoff run. Another team that can make a deep playoff run, the New England Patriots. Here's why I say that. A, they went out and basically bought every free agent that's ever existed in the history of ever. And no more Cam Newton. Listen, I like Cam Newton. He seems like he's a nice guy. Whenever I heard the story that Mac Jones was having to teach Cam Newton plays because after being there a year and a half, Cam Newton still didn't know a lot of the plays, that's when I knew, like, listen, Cam Newton's probably done. He'll go be a backup on some other team, but there's no way that Cam Newton can be taken seriously in the NFL if he's not even learning the plays. So I knew from the beginning that if Cam Newton was at the helm, this team was not playoff worthy. Now that Mac Jones is at the helm, they are playoff worthy. Listen, Mac Jones is the most pro-ready freshman quarterback coming into this draft. Mac Jones is a very quick learner. He's a very accurate passer. And he's going to be efficient, especially in the system that New England runs. New England likes to run a lot of double tight ends. Guess what? They went out and got Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, two of the better tight ends in the NFL. Guess what? They beefed up their backfield with Stevenson. Okay? People don't know who the Stevenson kid is out of Oklahoma, but I'm telling you, I picked him up in fantasy. This guy is going to be explosive. He's going to be electric. He's going to shock a lot of people this year. And he might take over their number one back spot. I just really, really like that kid. But Mac Jones he's put in probably the best situation. Besides Justin Herbert, he's been put in the best situation in my recent memory of most rookie quarterbacks. He's got a team that is ready to win. He's got a coach that is the greatest coach of all time, arguably. And he's got a defense that's always going to hold up and play tough defense and not give up a crazy amount of points. So that being said, the New England Patriots have a very, very strong chance of not only making the playoffs, but going deep into the playoffs. Another team, the Arizona Cardinals. Now, the Arizona Cardinals are a playoff team already, but the Arizona Cardinals can do a lot of damage in these playoffs, and I think they're built to win now. You go out and get J.J. Watt for a reason, and that is to win now. It's not like J.J. Watt's a young guy. It's not like J.J. Watt has not battled a ton of injuries. So you go out and get A.J. Green. You go out and get J.J. Watt. You go out and make sure you've got DeAndre Hopkins. You've got Chris Edmonds in the backfield. You've got James Conner now in the backfield, which is a massive pickup because he was the number one back in Pittsburgh if he would ever stay healthy. The big development this year has to come from Kyler Murray. And if Kyler Murray takes a couple steps forward, we know he's not going to get any taller, but if he can get a little bit smarter, release that ball a little bit quicker, be a little bit more accurate, you're going to see a very dangerous Arizona Cardinals team. I don't believe that this team is going to surprise a lot of people and win 2 or 3 playoff games. But I do believe that this team is a very strong contender to have a massive upset depending where they fall in these playoff rankings whenever they get their matchup, to have a massive upset. So the Arizona Cardinals, I'm telling you, watch out. They are going to be dangerous, especially in that first round matchup. And then lastly, another team that I think can make the playoffs. Another team that can surprise a lot of people. A team that can make a little noise. Do a little dance. Get down tonight. The Carolina Panthers. That's right, I said it. Listen, Christian McCaffrey. Top back in the league. Right there with Derrick Henry, in my opinion. You've got Matt Rule, who's doing a fantastic job of building that offense to be a much more fluent, much more, cohesive offense with Christian McCaffrey. When the Panthers got Christian McCaffrey, all they knew how to do was let's just try and get Christian McCaffrey the ball only. You've got guys like Moore. You've got Roby Anderson. You've got guys that can fly. You've got a very underrated offense with a top tier back in the backfield. So I like how Matt Rule is starting to make that a giant cohesive offense. Their defense, it's going to be middle of the pack like it always has been. I really wish Luke Kuechly hadn't retired because I was just thinking about him earlier this week. The great Carolina Panther, Luke Kuechly. But they don't have that kind of guy on this team. I'm not saying of that caliber. They don't have a guy that can lead this defense yet. So they've got struggles in the defense department. They're going to be middle of the road. But they also got Sam Darnold, and I think that he is a great quarterback. Sam Darnold was never given anything in New York. Sam Darnold was thrown to the wolves in New York. We now get to see if Sam Darnold is the real deal. He has arm talent. He can scramble out of the pocket, and so many NFL scouts love his game. But when he's playing for the New York Football Jets, there's only so much he can do. Only so much punishment he can take. And so that's why I think this franchise is resurrected under Sam Darnold. I'm glad that they got Teddy Bridgewater out of there, so there was no question marks. There was no battle for the quarterback position. This is Sam Darnold's team. It's a fresh start. I like Matt Rule. I think the Carolina Panthers are going to be wild card contenders, if not playoff contenders. And they'll make a little noise. They're not going to probably win a playoff game, I don't think. But they're going to make a little noise. They're going to get down tonight, all right? Carolina Panthers. All right, let's go with my preseason awards now. To wrap up the NFL, we're going to talk a little college football, then get out of here. My preseason awards, I'm going to go MVP. It might be safe, but I'm probably just going to go Patrick Mahomes. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is due for a better year than he had last year. He's still got his weapons. Patrick Mahomes gets out of the... And for struggling, I know he's still a top 5 quarterback in the NFL even when he's struggling. But last year he struggled a little bit. So this year he gets back on track. He's right back to MVP form. He's going to be dueling it out with Matthew Stafford and I think probably Aaron Rodgers. But I'm going to give it to Patrick Mahomes. Defensive Player of the Year, I'm going to go Chase Young. Listen, Chase Young has already been making an impact in preseason. Chase Young is on the cusp of being a top 5 defensive end in all of football. Chase Young wins the Defensive Player of the Year. My Offensive Player of the Year, I'm going Derrick Henry. King Henry is on track to just be who he is. He deserves the Offensive Player of the Year when he's racking up 2,000-yard seasons every single year. Derrick Henry gets it done. He brings the Titans to deep in the playoffs. Derrick Henry, my Offensive Player of the Year. My Offensive Rookie of the Year. It's probably going to go to Mac Jones, just for the simple fact that Mac Jones is going to be playing on a better team. And this is the same thing that happened to Justin Herbert, just lucked into a better situation than a lot of these other young quarterbacks. Although I think Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson and Trey Lance, if he does get to end up playing, will do very well. I mean, Mac Jones kind of has it made in the shade. He's at the better team. He's got the better coach. He's going to be put in a better situation. Mac Jones is going to be my Offensive Rookie of the Year. My Defensive Rookie of the Year, Micah Parsons, the best defensive player in this draft. A game-changing linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys now. That was a massive, massive pickup for them in their first round. Micah Parsons, my Defensive Rookie of the Year. My Comeback Player of the Year will also be a Dallas Cowboy. It's got to go to Dak Prescott, right? Dak Prescott hobbles his way to Comeback Player of the Year. He's going to have a strong season. I think we're going to see Dak Prescott pick up right where he left off. The Dallas Cowboys are probably going to make the playoffs and then get stomped right after that. They most likely are going to be ahead of that division unless Fitzmagic has something to say about it. But that is my Comeback Player of the Year. And then my Coach of the Year, I'm going to go, this one was very tough for me because there's a lot of different ones that I was going to go with. But I landed on Brandon Staley, the new rookie head coach for the Chargers. Now, we saw a rookie head coach win it last year, and I think that trend is going to continue. He's in a very good situation. He's got a young star quarterback. He's got Austin Eckler coming back. He's got a decent defense. It's middle of the road. This seems just like the perfect storm to have a first-year head coach in a very good system with a very good team and a very good quarterback. The Chargers are another dark horse that could definitely make the playoffs this year, but he is going to walk away with Coach of the Year. I see the Chargers outperforming what we all think they can this year and surprising a lot of people. Well, there is the NFL. There is all the things I have to say before we kick off football on Thursday night. The Dallas Cowboys are going to lose to Tampa Bay and the Buccaneers. So Thursday, the NFL is back. If you're a fantasy league member, if you're a fantasy league owner, we get to kick that off on Thursday. So I know we're all excited about that. To sum it up, let's talk a little college football. So we saw over the weekend, I'll go quickly here because we are doing a college football pick'em show, which I'll talk details with in just a second. But we saw Alabama be who Alabama is, dominate with another freshman comes in, throws 400, 300 and something yards. I will admit Miami was a little bit overrated, but we did see a lot of surprising things. We saw North Carolina go down. We saw Clemson go down to Georgia, who not only has the best defense, but might be the best team in all of college football this year. It is going to be a tough division and a tough fight for the SEC this year with Georgia and Alabama. I expect Clemson to probably go undefeated the rest of the way. That's who Clemson is. That's what Clemson does. DJ did not have a great game. He seemed overwhelmed. But then again, how much of that was DJ? And then how much of that was the best defense in college football? And I mean, surprisingly, I expected at least a touchdown out of DJ. I was shocked at how swarming that Bulldogs defense was. So the three teams that really stood out to me were going to be the Alabama Crimson Tide, just reloading, the Georgia Bulldogs, who might be the best team in all of college football this year, and then the Clemson Tigers. Listen, I know people want to go ahead and write Clemson off. They're going to go undefeated the rest of the way. DJ's not going to play as bad as he did. And at the end of the day, he's probably playing the best team in all of college football. So those three teams are going to be right back in title contention. I said this from the beginning of the year. I don't know why Oklahoma was ranked second. Spencer Rattler's not that great of a quarterback. They almost lost this past weekend to, I think it was Tulsa. The Green Wave, that's all I remember. So, I mean, if they're struggling against teams like that and they're letting teams like that put up 28 and 30 points, they're going to have a very, 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 very long season. But besides the top three dogs in college football, there's not another team that I'm like, wow, that team right there is going to be impressive later in the year. Wow, that team right there is going to turn some heads. Wow, that team right there is going to be a championship, a playoff contender to make the championship. The SEC's got some good teams this year. You've got Texas A&M. Ole Miss has an incredible offense. You have Georgia. You have Alabama. You know, the ACC, you're basically just stuck with Clemson again, as it seems like it is always. Notre Dame's back to who Notre Dame is. The biggest questions, I guess, are going to be answered this coming Saturday. You have Oregon versus Ohio State. And this is, as an Oregon fan, I do want to shy towards Oregon, but I'm going to try and stay as unbiased as possible here. I wasn't impressed with Ohio State, and I was not impressed with Oregon's offense. So Oregon's defense did as good of a job as they can with how much they were out on the field, but Oregon's offense has got to step up, and that's a game that we're going to talk in depth about on a college Saturday morning pick'ems. It's returning. So if you are a college football fan, every Saturday we will have a college football pick'em show, and you can play along at home and win cash prizes. If you don't believe me, there are people that I have Venmo cash to that day for winning. It's super simple. Here's how you get to watch. Here's how you get to play. You watch the college football pick'em show on YouTube. You pick along on Instagram. The games will be uploaded right before the start of college football at 11 a.m. For those of you who didn't see it last week, TLR Podcast 615, you can see it on my Instagram story every Saturday morning. You play along, pick between the 5 games, and if you beat me, 6 games. And if you beat me, then you are Venmo'd a cash prize that day. So super simple. All you have to do is watch and enter, all on TLR Podcast 615 on Instagram. Well, there you have it. Another episode is in the books. Basically, this NFL episode. And I know that many of you like when we mix up the content, and we're definitely going to be doing a bunch more different stuff. I just had to focus on the NFL because we kick off this, I say we. The NFL kicks off this Thursday. I'm invested into fantasy, so I was just about it. Had to talk a lot about football today. College football Saturday morning pick'ems will be returning this Saturday. Game of the day, Oregon versus Ohio State. Play along on our social media. We've got free cash prizes being given away every single week, so make sure you stay up to date with us. If you like us, share us with a friend. Leave a comment on wherever you listen to podcasts. The word of mouth helps me more than you could ever know. Once again, everybody, I'm Jacob Courtwright. This is The Locker Room.